Sup guys, welcome back to the Unreal Dev Diaries with Dix. Still gotta work on my intros, but yeah. So last time we left off, we basically did the whole interaction, like having the UI show up when you approach the NPC and press a certain button. So now we're gonna move on to the dialogue tree. So basically, what comes next as you flow through each NPC? Like, where's the text coming from? How is the text changing? And what other options the player has to speak with NPCs? So yes, I have again these three dudes. Yeah. So there's certain lines that you can say based on what line of dialogue there is. So I'm gonna go into this. Let me just like demonstrate how this is so far. So now it's like, yes, the interaction is ready. Okay, I forgot to get rid of this guy. Let me actually move him a little bit away so he's not shooting us all the time. Hopefully he's like far enough. Okay, it's far enough. Yeah, so this, okay, I'm just gonna go through it. So yeah, press F, there's the first line of dialogue. Press F again, there's the second. We've seen this before. And then we go to the question. So I added like simple UI, built-in UI. And yeah, so it's just asking yes or no. And this is clickable. Well, yes, so you can choose yes and then it'll go away. But yeah, you can go through it again until you get to the question, and then you can choose no if you want. So there's nothing written to it, that's why nothing happens. But like, yeah. So you can also go like through something, like if you're on this level of the conversation, which is like the third line of dialogue, you can leave and then, you know, start from overs again. So this is something that actually been like repurposed from the previous video. Like some things have changed, and I'll show you what has changed. So we have something that is actually be controlled. So if I click on here, we have something like a dialogue tree. Okay, I call it a dialogue tree. I don't know what this will actually be called, but it's just basically controlling what comes next in the dialogue. So it's basically an array of speech options, like speech, like dialogue options. I don't know. I think you get what I mean here. But yeah, so 0, you see the placement 0 here was the first line of dialogue. This is the second line of dialogue, the third, and the fourth, which is the question. So the reason why the question comes up is because it's written in a way that if the third line of dialogue is the next one that's going to be chosen to be said, then, or in line to be said, then bring up the question where the player can choose, and then that will have its own outcomes. So different dialogue is coded to have different things happening based on what you choose. So I'll explain that over here in VS Code. So over here, this is the dialogue tree. So it's gonna have its own class that it's gonna pull from. So I'm not gonna leave it in the script because you can see how chunky it is already. But yeah, so it's like I basically simplified I'm saying basically a lot, I don't know why. I simplified the way you like have a conversation. So instead of like there being like deeper things like give item and stuff like that, I kind of took it away. So if you look over here in the Excel sheet, I only have yes and no, which is simple yes and no, question and answer, whatever. So this is like if you choose this question, or I mean you choose this answer, then it has dialogue that follows and maybe an event that's gonna carry out. And then discuss is like going to like more speech options, like I said before. And these speech options can be followed by an event involving the NPC. So like, okay, I'll give an example by that when I go into the dialogue tree. And then we have shop. So the ones that been deprecated now is give item and encourage and threaten. So give item, it basically, I felt like it doesn't really fit in the game because I didn't want to have anything like an inventory management screen or anything like that, or picking up items and having that, like, I know that's like more of a Souls-like feature, but I chosen not to really have that in the game. It's more gonna have like pickups that you interact with by going into them, and then they give you the upgrade immediately. So it's not like you pick up an item, you go to your inventory screen, and then you use the item, or you equip the item first. It's not going to be something like that. So it's not really like a RPG system. And then encourage and threaten, I kind of took that away because it'll kind of require you to go back to the NPC quite a bit, or I don't really find it kind of like a fun mechanic to be like, okay, I'm gonna threaten him for this information. What is the information? How is it gonna help me? You know what I mean? I rather want options of what you say influence what happens next. So like something like Walking Dead, or like I would say Fallout, but like Fallout has encouraged and threatened, but it doesn't always have it in every conversation. There'll be like stuff where there's two stuff to say, something bad to say and something good to say. That influences what happens next, not threatening or encouraging the person. So yeah, and then you can see I also took out the name of the character known when mentions the name. That'll be like a cool feature, but I don't know. I kind of like lost my love for it a little bit, but yeah, maybe in a future project I'll have that when speaking to NPCs is a more deeper thing. Like I wanted to make it a more simple talking system. Like initially I didn't even want to have any speech options. It was just gonna be like you press F and you go through the person's dialogue, which is like already written in the game, but now I'm just expanding on it because I kind of like having these like little options with the events that follow. So if it's a conversation where you just press F until the conversation is done, then there's nothing really gonna happen, you know, after you say a certain thing or choose a certain thing. There's no real player input. There's just like, you know, you're talking to someone and that's just it. So yeah. So, and the thing as well is the relationship bar that's been taken out. The relationship bar was there for like managing almost like a karma system with a certain NPC. But since there's friend and foe outcomes, it kind of does the same thing as relationship bar. So like the remembrance function is still here, where depends on what you say will be will give certain outcomes. So if you choose an option, like if there was a yes and no option and you choose no, and that is like kind of disrespectful to the person, or it defines them as your enemy now, then you know that'll be the there'll be certain outcomes since you chose that speech option, if you understand that. Yeah. And then on the other side, if it's good stuff you say, then you know it'll be a friend outcome. So like, yeah, betrayals, making enemies, later rewards and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, back to the dialogue tree. These yes and no, discuss, and shop, speech options as well, but like that's tied into any of these, and these can be interchangeable as well. Okay, but enough talk about like the planning. Let's go back into VS Code. So here you can see NPC 1. So each NPC will have their own set of dialogue that a code is written to tell them like what to say. So similar to how it's working right now is that if you're speaking to this person here, this dialogue trigger here, which will be attached to an NPC, the numbers that you input here. So if I put like line 22, he's gonna say line 22 followed by line 26 followed by line 58, and or you can be like line 22, and if he says yes or no, if he chooses yes, it goes to line 26. If he chooses no, it goes to line 58. If he chooses goodbye, then he goes to line 3. You know what I mean? So there's like different lines of dialogue will basically control the flow of the conversation. So yeah, that's basically how that works. So all that dialogue, that 0, 1, 2, and 3, is kept here. So for NPC 1, this is line 1 over here, line 2. So you see here it says like hello fellow kitty, which is like what he says initially. So that will be his greeting dialogue. So it's his first greeting dialogue, line 1, and then line 2, and then line 3, and then line 4, that you look a bit lost though. Do you want to know where to go next? That's line 4 that comes with that yes or no that we just saw now. So every time you press F, it's gonna depends on how it's coded for that NPC, it'll follow out what comes next. So this is a pretty simple line over here where it's like this will go into this will go into that, and this will go into this. So this one is not hopping around to different things depending on what you say. But Discuss will do that, which we will see now. Yeah. So you go here, and now you have the option of yes and no. So now you choose yes. I'm gonna go over this over here real quick. After we get yes and no. Yeah. So if you choose yes, then you'll say this line of dialogue over here. So it's like, all right, so you can go straight past those crates and over there through the crawl space. So it's like he's giving you advice if you say yes, and then he carries on his dialogue, and then at the end of the yes option that you chose, the dialogue is done, and it ends the conversation because you already chose yes or no. And if you choose no, then he's like, are you sure you don't want my help? I know this area quite well, but okay, then good luck out there. Try not to get killed or worse. So he's like, yeah. So if you choose no, you're not going to get his help. He's not going to explain to you the easy way past whatever area is next. So say there's like around the corner, there's a bunch of enemies, and around the other corner, there's like a pit of lava, and somewhere in the corner, there's boxes. But you don't know there's a pathway around the boxes, but he can tell you of the pathways if you get to his dialogue and you answer yes. If you answer no, obviously he doesn't give you anything. But yeah, so these cases, if you already greeted him before but you're coming back to talk to him, then instead of saying hello fellow kitty, welcome, he's not going to welcome you again, because you already know the deal, you already heard this. So if he greeted you the first time, then he's gonna be marked as already greeted. So then he won't say this dialogue because he already greeted you. So yeah, so if he already greeted you, then it'll be like taking a look around. This place can be dangerous. Want to know which is the best way to go? So he's gonna ask you the yes and no prompt again. So yeah, yeah. So there'll also be options if you choose to speak to him again after choosing yes. Maybe you missed what he said about the crates or anything, so you want to hear, the same dialogue again. So you can be like, already answered dialogue 1, and then already answered dialogue 2, with the option of yes or no coming up again. So you can even choose no again if you want to. Yeah. So it's just like, so yeah. So even if you already answered no, you can be like, oh, you had a change of heart, maybe you do want some help, and then you can say, do you want the help or do you not want the help? So there's like, there's different things that like that will be passed on to. So the dialogue tree, if you look here, it'll have like all this bunch of options over here, and it'll just be hopping to the one so that relates to this here. So say this is dialogue 111 and 110 here. So if you already answered no, then it will switch to like 110 here and 111 is chilling here. So it'll go from 2 to 110 instead of going to 3, like following a down order. It'll be hopping around based on what you are choosing in the conversation. Excuse me. So yeah. So that's the yes and no feature. So depending on if you say yes or no, this dialogue tree over here will determine what you say next. So that's basically how that works. Now for discuss basically has a similar thing of like switching to what you say and whatever. But yeah, so we start kind of the same, but it has like some differences. So the greeting dialogue, yeah, what's up? Have you seen how many dog bots is out there? It's insane. Any ideas? So now we have something more than just yes or no. There's an idea 1 that you can say, that you can suggest to him. There's idea 2. There's discuss, which will expand into another 3 options. And then there's an option to say goodbye. Over here, there wasn't an option to say goodbye for the yes and no, because if you choose yes, it'll end dialogue. If you choose no, it'll end the dialogue. So there's no real need to say goodbye, because you're only gonna have yes or no. So over here, you have those 4 options. If you choose idea 1, then yeah, you'll say his idea 1 dialogue, and then so say he's asking you he's asking you about all the enemies out there, all the dog bots. So say idea 1 is like, let's charge at them, and then he's gonna be like, are you sure you want to do that? Okay, I'm down for that, let's go. And then when he says that, it'll end the dialogue, followed by an event that will prevent further interaction until the idea option is done. So like, if you chose to charge in after the whole fight and whatever, you can choose to talk to him again, but then the ideas options will be gone, because you don't have to ask him about. He's not gonna ask you if you have any ideas. You know what I mean? That's gonna be like a different kind of thing. So it'll be something, yeah. After the ideas have been done, there'll be different text, different dialogue. So it won't go from this here. It'll hop to this as a returning dialogue, because obviously it's not gonna ask you for any ideas anymore. So do you see how the dialogue tree is gonna basically change based on what you choose, how you interact in the dialogue? So like, yeah, it'll be flipping and flopping to different states of the conversation. So yeah, so idea 2 is the same thing. Like, maybe you have a different thing, like sneak past the guys, and then you guys will sneak past, and then your guys will have a little chat afterwards, and you'll say different things. You'll say a different line of dialogue. So yeah, so that was basically we covered the yes and no, and we covered the speech options will be followed by an event involving an NPC. Yeah. So then another way you can interact in a conversation is discuss. So discuss will work as you have the 4 options and you choose discuss now. So now you choose discuss, and there's 3 options for discuss. There can be more, there can be less, yeah, based on the conversation. So if you choose the option 1, discuss the first topic. So maybe you want to discuss where do these dog bots come from? And then there's another one where it's like, what weapons do you have? Do you know where to get stronger weapons? And there's maybe another option to discuss of like, do you know the ins and outs of this place? You know, like you can talk further with the guy. So yeah, you choose the first option, then he's discuss option 1. It'll basically flip over here to from the discuss to discuss option 1. And then yeah, he's discussed option 1, dialogue will flow out, and then the second one, and then the third one. And then there's an option to go back to see all the topics to discuss again. So this is similar to yeah, like I said before, like if you played Dragon Age or you played Mass Effect, this is how this dialogue tree will act. So you in basically the discuss options section of the dialogue tree of this NPC. So yeah, you can discuss the second topic over here, you can discuss the third one over here, and it'll just be lines of dialogue that'll follow out with the option to go back. And obviously when he's done talking about the discuss option, it'll automatically go back to the 3 topics if you want to hear it again, or if you want to, you know, pick the next one that you didn't pick yet. Okay, yeah, so you can go back, and then obviously if you go back is yeah, you can you'll say like, all right, we still need a way through here, any ideas? So if you still have to choose an idea, this is what you will say. So this, if the condition is still live in his NPC information, then you'll say this. But if you obviously never met him before, then you'll say something like yeah, you'll say the greeting basically. And if you didn't discuss anything with him, but you already greeted him, then it will flip to this one where it's like, you're back, figure out what we should do. So maybe you saw that like there's ideas to choose, but before you want to choose an idea, you want to check out the enemies and maybe see if there's a way through. And that'll basically help you choose if you want to go for idea 1 and idea 2 to see which one is smarter. Like maybe sneaking past is smarter because the enemies are really tough, or maybe attacking them head on is actually the good option, because sneaking might be difficult because there's lots of traps, but the enemies are weak. So you know, you can check out the area first before selecting idea 1 and idea 2, but like different outcomes for different ideas that you pick from. So this system can be used in different ways. It can be combined with the yes and no, but yeah, the dialogue tree is being controlled by a code that's basically switching through this assigned dialogue options to the specific NPC. So if I switch to this NPC, you'll see that he has a different set of numbers here, because he has different things to say. So you'll say different things based on that. So if let's do it as a test, you'll see it's fetching the dialogue from the dialogue tree. Oops, this is the checkpoint. It's fetching things from the dialogue tree. So this is number 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know? And then this one is that random number. So instead of saying the greeting first, he's saying line, I think this is line 2. So he's saying line 2 now instead of like line 1. So yeah, this is just like a test test dialogue over here, but you can see it's fetching from the list that's listed in the thing over here, in the dialogue tree attached to him. So whatever numbers here is fetching from here and inputting into the dialogue that is being said. So if I speak to this dude over here, then yeah, he's just gonna say all the dialogue as well. But if I keep pressing, he has even more to say and more to say and more questions, and so it's just showing that it's all fetching from the dialogue tree. So the dialogue tree will be controlling what these NPCs are saying. Yeah, so that's the dialogue system basically. But we can continue to the last part. Over here he has also a goodbye dialogue. If you choose goodbye from that option, and then you'll say the goodbye dialogue, and it'll just end the conversation. But yeah, so now we have the last thing that the player can interact, or the NPC can like interact with you. The shop. So we went through discuss now, and now the shop. So the shop is kind of simple, where yeah, you'll greet you. So hello friend, surprised to see I got ways to sell in a place like this. Well, so am I. That's very Dark Souls, like a very Dark Souls line. But yeah. So there's a greeting dialogue, and then followed by the greeting dialogue, 3 options will show up. The option to shop, the option to talk, and the option to say goodbye. They're all obvious, but I'm just gonna go through like, yeah, how that would be, because I did that for the rest. But yeah, the shop option will obviously bring up a shop UI if you choose that, with the shop dialogue. So you'll say, take a look at my wares or whatever, and as he says that, the shop UI will come up where you can buy or sell, or a third option to go back, and go back will go back to will flip the dialogue back to this option here. So it's flipping from that one number to this number of dialogue. Yeah. So then you choose talk. Talk will be like, hey, word of warning, don't go near that green stuff from the barrels over there. And then I'll switch to the next line of dialogue. It's toxic. We wouldn't want you to get caught up in that, friend. Yeah, and then when that is done, it'll automatically go back to the shop, the shop and talk options. Yeah. And obviously if you choose goodbye, then you'll say his goodbye dialogue, and then it'll end. So yeah, so you see how the dialogue tree basically works. It's the whatever is defined on the NPC, the NPC's dialogue tree, whatever these numbers say here will determine what the NPC can say. So there's gonna be NPC like cat number 1, cat number 2, and cat number 3, and they all, they all say different things, and they all have different prompts that will lead to different things when you click on them. So yeah, so basically the groundwork of the planning and the main line of the code has been written already. So you can click these and they do work. They just don't have anything written to them. But yeah, so this can be followed by an event. This can open a trapdoor. This can give you health. This can give you gold, maybe. This can, whatever. Like, say this was something that impacts the relationship with this NPC in a good way or a bad way. So it depends on what you choose. But obviously, there's no relationship bar. I took that out, and yeah, depending on what you choose, it'll be remembered later. So it'll add the information to this NPC, and this NPC will remember that choice. So next time he'll be placed at a different area, or you'll be ready to say different things. So he's gonna fetch different dialogue from the dialogue tree. He's gonna fetch different dialogue that basically will carry out different events based on what the player character chose previously. So yeah, that's basically how it works. So so there's different things over here. Oh, and every time when I reverse out, and you can see those things, that's just because also there's nothing that follows the yes and no. But yeah, so the UI is basically set out for the dialogue tree. The dialogue tree works because it's fetching from the tree to say these different things. So it's not a way of I feel like it's a long way of clicking on each NPC and now typing out each thing they're gonna have to say within the NPC trigger, basically the interact trigger. So instead it just has a list of IDs, and that IDs will be pulled from a script like this. So this will be easier to manage. So I can just be say this NPC is called L or something, L Bell, and somebody else is called Harry or something like that. Like the shop owner is called Harry. And then you can just Control F and say find Harry, and then there, I found him, or there's Harry. And if I want to find all L Bells, all Albel's dialogue, then there you can see Albel's dialogue is here. So it's like all of this it'll obviously be a long list of different NPCs script, but it will all be kept here, and it'll be fetched from the, it'll be fetched and inputted into the dialogue that is happening with the NPC that you are interacting with. So yeah, I hope that was not too convoluted or too overwhelming to see all these things. But yeah, that's basically how the dialogue tree is working. It's basically fetching the information that I wrote out here, and whatever the numbers that are dedicated to the characters, that's what they'll say. So I can change this to any number, and that will determine what they say next. But yeah, that's about it for the interact system, the dialogue tree section of the interaction system. So what comes after that? I didn't tick these yet because I will first I'll first set up the different events that come after choosing yes or no, because I worked out the UI, so the UI is clickable and it's able to show up when I choose a certain or when a certain dialogue ID will get chosen. So like say line number 8 is linked to a question, then yes and no will come up. And if line 6 is linked to a shop, then when line dialogue 6 comes up, then the shop option will come up. So that determines what kind of NPC it is. But yeah, I think I hammered that in a little bit too much. Sorry about that, but yeah. So what comes next to finish off the NPC interaction system is just give these events, like I said, and have a UI option to exit a conversation. So I can maybe have like an exit button, just like an exit button that's hanging somewhere on the screen over here. So if you do want to exit anytime you want without moving out of the trigger zone that starts the conversation, then you can. So I'm gonna add that as an option. Yeah, and then it's the remembrance function, which is kind of simple. You're just adding certain information. So it's like if a bool will be like a on and off switch. So like if you did offend the person, then it turns that on. If you didn't offend it, then they'll keep it off. If you help the person out, then it'll tick it as this NPC has been helped. And the next time you see him, if it's ticked help, then it will carry out the helped dialogue. And if you didn't help him, then the friend and foe outcomes will activate, and he'll maybe betray you, or he'll make enemies with you, or make it a little bit harder for you, or he might even like that and become your friend because he was like, hey, whatever you said no to, it actually helped me, but I still hated you for it initially, but blah blah blah, yeah, so that's how that will work. So probably in a few, like maybe 2 more sessions, we'll have this sorted out. So next week you'll see like an update on this, and most likely this will be done, and then the next diary, maybe this will be done. I don't know if both will be done because they both have different outcomes, but they do tie to each other. So yeah, this one is pretty simple because it's just like an on and off switch, and this is just the consequences of these on and off switch tied to the NPC. Yeah, so these 2 can be done at the same time. Yeah, but yeah, this relationship bar and all of this will be eventually removed. I'm just showing you that this has been crossed out because yeah, we're not gonna do that again. Yeah, so that has been the dialogue tree. Oh, you probably see that this is new as well. So instead of going into the building the levels part, we're gonna actually edit the weapon system. So the weapon system, yeah, I'll update the fire rate because right now We can fire as fast as we want, like as you can see, like and this get ready 1 2 3 go doesn't really have to be there. It's just like to test out a certain countdown before you can do and control the character, do anything with the character. So yeah, you can see the fire rate is like super fast. Like the enemies won't even have like a chance to really, because they shooting at a certain fire rate, but I'm not. So it's kind of like, you know, it's like cheating in a way. Maybe there can be a weapon upgrade you can buy in the shop that that actually increases your fire rate or makes it slower but the damage higher, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, and then I want to have like something that changes the fire rate. There'll be an option or ability to charge your shot. So if you hold down the click, you'll charge up the attack, and when you let go, it'll do a stronger attack. But obviously you took time to charge, so that's the trade-off. Yeah, then I'll change the way the bullet drop, because there is bullet drop. Over here you see, like it doesn't go far, but like I want to just edit it a little bit. The bullet physics, so maybe there can be some bullets that will ricochet or that will hit certain things and cause it to explode, you know, stuff like that. Melee attacks, so there'll be certain things like if you're in a certain range and you attack and you are in the range of the enemy, then you do damage to the enemy. So like a standard melee attack. And then there's charged melee attacks where you can hold in the button just like the charged shots. Yeah, I'm gonna actually make this charged shots. Yeah. And then there's critical attacks. So critical attacks is very Souls-like, where if you landed successive attacks in a short amount of time, then you will cause a stagger. And then when the enemy's in the state, so I can just write it in a code of like get hit 3 times within the time of 3 seconds or something. And if that happens, put the enemy in a stagger state. And then when the enemy is in the stagger state, you can go up to the enemy and do a melee attack. When you do a melee attack, it's gonna perform sort of like a grab attack. That is like like you've seen it in like Bloodborne's visceral attacks or Dark Souls critical attacks. Yeah. And then there'll be additional weapons that you can pick up, you can find throughout the level. Remember, there's no inventory system, so you'll pick it up and then you can have a button to switch through your weapons or open up a weapon wheel or anything like that. I actually want to have that. So I've seen it being coded before, so it won't be such a big deal to find reference for that. So weapon wheel to change through your weapons. And then weapon pickups. So weapon pickups is basically upgrades. I'll just say /upgrades, which can also be bought from the shop. So like increase to your fire rate, like I said, and like maybe make charge shots charge longer, but it gives you higher damage. Or yeah, melee attacks do more damage, but your shots do less damage. Or like, you know, stuff like that to like modify your build. But not going so far into adding skills, like skill levels and stuff like that, because it's not really an RPG. It's just something where you can just customize your weapon and your melee attack and like sort of like different things. Maybe like Doom in a certain way where there's pickups throughout the level, and yeah, it'll change up the way you are fighting and whatever. So yeah. So that's gonna come next. And yeah, so mainly we covered the dialogue tree and gone over the changes to the game's future updates, and yeah, and this whole new step that we're gonna do here. So I feel like I want to do this first before I build the levels, because yeah, so after the 2 sessions this will probably be done. And then I want this to be done because I'm going to be adding enemies and NPCs and traps and stuff. So I want there to be a fair weapon system before I move on to actually adding enemies. So the combat will feel develop before there's a whole level built with enemies around. So yeah, that's basically it. So that's the dialogue tree and additions, but yeah, basically the dialogue tree. So yeah, it's fetching from the dialogue that we see here, and that's basically how it works. I think this is a really cool feature because it doesn't have it all like messy in like a long list of dialogue put here, and like when I say here, I mean like put on the character and put into a like a blueprint, or like, you know, like it's gonna look like messy over here. It's hard to find out, okay, which NPC am I looking for, you know? But all it's doing is this here, where it's like, you know, here's the dialogue text. It's set to change the text, and it's pulling from the interaction, basically the interaction string, and this gets defined by the dialogue tree. So whatever this text is gonna be, it gets defined by what is, you know, what line of text is tied to the character. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This has just been a really unnecessary long explanation of the dialogue tree, but yeah, unedited, unscripted. But yeah, we will be sorting it out, like I said, in the future, when I have more time, and that'll be probably in about 2 weeks. So yeah, there'll be a change to the quality of these diary videos. So yeah, thanks for watching. This has been Dex, and yeah, have a good day, guys. Bye bye.